sausage. So, this week we're doing something a little different. We're heading over into Bookshame Corner. You know what that is. And we're going to discover, is this particular classic a book you should feel ashamed for having not read? Or are you just a rugged individualist who won't be bullied into reading boring old bollocks? Let's find out. The Talented Mr. Ripley was written by Patricia Highsmith in 1955. In it, Tom Ripley, a young man without means, drifts through New York committing petty fraud until, quite by accident, he's offered the opportunity of a lifetime, basically because someone mistakes him for somebody else. A wealthy magnate's son called Dickie has swanned off to Europe. Ripley is offered a paid trip to Italy to try and convince the young man to come back and see his ailing mother. So Ripley goes to Europe and starts to experience the life that he always feels like he deserved. And then a new, far greater opportunity presents itself. 1. I often start these reviews with, this cat can write, but a book like this reminds me I'm so often talking very shallowly about prose styling, about someone who can turn a good sentence. Highsmith sails past that potentially rather meager benchmark in 2 regards. The first is the absolute clarity with which she writes, and the second is that she is somebody who understands the human condition. This is a book that feels utterly authentic when it comes to situations, events, motivations, character moments, and feeling. Highsmith in this book makes almost every other writer suffer in comparison, and reading this makes me realize I have to stop saying so many cats can write. 2, this book feels like time travel. It's like a guidebook to a place and time that no longer exists. You step into a vivid, fascinating, utterly believable and convincing world, whether you're in New York or on a boat or in Montebello or Rome. And it's a world that you just cannot get enough of. It's like seeing a black and white photograph from a long time ago and then literally just being able to step inside it, smell the air, look around, and just be intoxicated by this completely different place and time. 3, this is a book where you never know what's going to happen next. It is completely unpredictable. Things big and small never go to plan. There are blossoming complications from every new act, and has that incredibly refreshing feel of a book where you don't know how the chapter's going to end, you don't know how the section's going to end, you don't know how the book is going to end, and you don't know what circumstances Ripley is going to end up in. Having said that, this is a incredibly anxiety-inducing read. It puts you on a knife edge, and those situations aren't outlandish ones of extreme violent peril. They're things that you will intuitively recognize in your own experience. They're being caught in a lie in front of a friend or in front of a group of people, and the abject humiliation that follows it. It makes you cringe reading these things, but you can't stop it, and it's so human and it's so recognizable. And so many of these knife-edge situations come from the fact that Ripley is undeniably talented. He's just 5% less brilliant than he thinks he is. And that 5% could mean the difference between a life of leisure and the electric chair. And that brings us to 4. Ripley is one of the most fascinating characters I've read. He is the most convincing psychotic fantasist, and his internal monologue is utterly convincing. The narration is entirely colored by Tom Ripley's opinions, what he sees, and how he feels. And that's brought into horrifying focus in the few descriptions there are of violence, which are seen entirely through Tom Ripley's eyes and are workmanlike and unemotional. You realize how utterly incapable of remorse or normal emotion this character is. Ripley is an actor playing a character in his own life. He sees himself very consciously as the main character in a story, and he is determined to make that story as interesting as possible, going so far as to constantly jeopardize his plans and his safety to make things more interesting. He has this blend of calculatedness and recklessness that is intoxicating to be around, like he's a person whose only real sense of himself is that he's cleverer than other people, and he constantly has to try and prove that this is true, no matter what kind of trouble it gets him into in the process. He's a character that you cannot get enough of, and that's why this book is genuinely a franchise starter. This book leaves you wanting so much more. A conjurer's trick of empathy, of tight plotting, of utterly compelling characters doing things you don't expect. You never liked Tom Ripley, but you can't take your eyes off him, and you find yourself rooting for him again and again. You get to the end and you feel both satisfied and absolutely determined to know what will happen to this character. Not because of any outstanding plot points, but because he is somebody who is incapable of not getting into more trouble. And you really want to know what that trouble is. Highsmith returned to this character 4 more times with quite a gap. I think she started writing more Ripley books in the 70s. None are as highly regarded as this one, though I will definitely be checking out at least 1 or 2 of them. Up you come. She's come back. She wants more likes. So after having gushed for seemingly an hour, let's make it official. Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley goes on the bookshelf forever. It's that good. Yeah, if you haven't read it, this is a book that will put you in Bookshame corner. Ripley is the quintessential American mid-century character, a guy who discovers he doesn't need to go west to reinvent himself. He can go anywhere. And it has this incredible juxtaposition of newness and self-invention and the romance of old places and beautiful things that is utterly irresistible. So, alternative reads, Women Writing Psychotic Men edition. To start with, a book that was very written in the same period. In a Lonely Place by Dorothy B. Hughes. This book was written about 5 years before Ripley, and it has a few kind of vibe similarities. The main character, Dick Steele, has that similar recklessness where he might be doing very bad things, but he discovers an old friend from the Air Force is now a police detective investigating these crimes, and he cannot help himself but get involved in this guy's life. It's a fascinating, eerie, remarkably transgressive for the 50s cat and mouse story. But if we want to move forward 30, 40 years, the book that invented dark academia, The Secret History. Richard Papin is the 90s Ripley. These books really complement each other. Donna has Highsmith's talent for tremendously evocative environments. This time, the world of New England and of dusty libraries and wonderful old colleges. And it also has this cuckoo-like main character who gradually wheedles their way into a very tight social circle. This is my wife's favorite book. And then finally, one of my own favorites, Gone Girl This is Gillian Flynn's reinvention of the diary novel. She's writing as a man and as a woman. I won't tell you which of them is a psycho, but that character also reminds me of Tom Ripley in their brilliance, in their manipulativeness, but also in their flights of fancy, of self-invention that they can never quite pull off, and the anxiety with which you and they realize that they are setting things in motion that they are not quite brilliant enough to escape from. This is a book like Ripley that I had no idea where it was going to go or how it was going to end. And for me, this is another bookshelf forever book. I love it. So that's the Talented Mr. Ripley. And all of these books can be found in the links below. If you click on those links, it helps me out. If you want to help the world out, go to your local independent bookstore and buy a copy there. I think that they should have all of the books that I talked about, to be honest. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you really liked it, consider signing up to the Substack, where you'll get a newsletter with every new video. And that has all of the many thoughts that don't make it into the review. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Monday. If you love thrillers and mysteries, but you want something a bit more up to date, why not check out my reviews of The Impossible Thing and The Examiner.